Hello guys, welcome to the next video tutorial on Java programming for beginners. In the last video we have seen what is a class and how we can declare a class and how we can declare an instance of a class and use them. Now in this video we will see how to use a class constructor and what is a class constructor. So first of all we will start our tutorial by making a new class. So I will go to my package and I will right click and go to new, and I will create a class and I will name my class as cube. By this cube class I'm going to get, or I'm going to calculate the volume of a cube using different length, breadth and height. So I'm going to declare three variables, int length, int breadth and int height, so that I can calculate the volume using all these three variables. And then I will declare a method which will return int, and I will name it as get cube volume, and this will take nothing as parameter. And what this method will do is I'm going to just return the length, the product of length into breadth multiplied by height. Okay, so this is the volume of the cube, right? Length into breadth into height. Okay, and this was get cube volume, right? So I have declared this class. Now I'm going to initialize an instance of the class. So I will create a cube and I will name my cube instance as cube1 is equal to new cube, right? And this cube with the round bracket is called the constructor of your cube class. And the most basic property of constructor is, even if you don't define a constructor, Java will create a default constructor for you whenever you create a class. So we haven't created this constructor method explicitly anywhere here in our class, but this is default constructor which is provided by Java for us. And we can also define a constructor for us, and the constructor name is always exactly the same as the class name. So for defining a constructor you can just write cube, and it, for default constructor I'm not going to pass any values right now, but it can take values, okay, or parameters. So here you can provide parameters as you can do it with the method, but the most important property of constructor is it has the same name as class and it never returns any value. So constructor never returns any value, so you cannot return like this in constructor. Okay, now what I'm going to do is this constructor, let me print something. So sys o, and I'm going to print we are in constructor. Okay, and in our main class, in our main method, we have just defined the instance of this cube class and nothing else. And when we run the program, it prints we are in constructor. That means whenever you create an instance of a class, the first method which is called or which is initialized is the constructor of the class. Okay, so you can define a constructor, and if you want to initialize something you can do it with the constructors, because it's the first method which will be executed, right? So constructors are generally used to initialize values uh, in a class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize some value like length is equal to 10, variable breadth is equal to, for example, 20, and variable height is equal to 30, for example. Okay, so this is the default constructor we have defined, and in here we have defined the value of length, breadth and height, so that if user even don't initialize these length, breadth and height, we are going to initialize, or Java will initialize this value for us using this default constructor. So now what we can do is we have initialized the instance of the constructor, and using this constructor we can print, or we can call get cube volume method. Okay, so not here but here, cube, which is the instance of this cube class, dot get cube volume, and this will return us the product of 10 into 20 into 100, which we have initialized these values as, right? Now you can provide multiple constructors or constructor overloading to the class. So you can provide this constructor, which we can consider as a default constructor, and in here we are going to provide 3 parameter, int L, comma int B, comma int H. Okay, and these parameter we will pass to our length, breadth and height. Okay, so this is called constructor overloading. So we can define 2 constructor at the same time, both with different pair of arguments, and this we will call it as default constructor, and whenever you want to provide some values by yourself, you can use this constructor, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to define second instance of cube class, cube 2, which is second instance, is equal to new cube, right? And now we can just call the same method get cube volume, but using cube 2 instance, and here we will define length, breadth and height, for example 20, 20, 20. Okay, so Java is intelligent enough to understand that this constructor is this one, and whenever you don't provide any argument, whenever you hover over your constructor and just control click it, it will go to the default constructor here, right? So now when we run the program, one will give us the product of these values 10 into 20 into 30, which is 6000, and other will give us the value of, or product of these value 20 into 20 into 20, which is 8000. So we can define multiple constructor with different argument as we require with our class. Okay, so this is all about constructor, I think. And once again, I'm going to review what are constructor. Constructor are the member method in a class which have the same name as your class, exactly the same. Constructor never returns any value. Constructor can take parameter, or they cannot. I mean, you can, it's totally on you if you want to provide any parameter to a constructor or not. you can define multiple constructor and use them with the class. So I have defined constructor with no parameter, so I can define it like this. And I have defined a constructor with 3 parameter, length, breadth and height, so I can define it by like this. Okay, so in this way you can declare and use constructor in Java. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and bye.